Every time you reach for your thermostat to escape the winter chill, you are performing a small miracle that our ancestors once paid for with blood. Imagine a world without power grids or central heating. 30,000 years ago, there were no switches to flick, only the crushing weight of the frost. We are traveling back to the heart of the Great Ice Age, where the White Death ruled the Earth and humanity teetered on the very edge of extinction. They had no metal, no bricks, and no stone walls. Yet, these forgotten people refused to surrender to the cold that claimed everything else in its path. This is the epic story of the world's first true engineers. They didn't just find shelter, they invented it, using the remains of giants and the earth itself. To understand our present comfort, we must look into the eyes of those who survived the impossible. Their struggle is the foundation of our modern world. The stakes were simple: innovate or freeze. In a world of minus 40 degrees, every breath was a battle, and every night was a potential end. Today, we peel back the layers of history to reveal a technical revolution that changed everything. Let us meet the masters of bone and frost. For a long time, we dismissed them as primitive savages hiding in damp caves. But history has done a great injustice to their incredible technical brilliance. Deep in the plains of Ukraine, archaeologists discovered something that shattered our prejudices. Complex architectural sites built where no natural caves existed for hundreds of miles. They didn't just pile bones, they engineered them. These were not random heaps, but precisely calculated structures designed to withstand the weight of the sky. Using advanced scanning technology, we can see the genius behind the bones. Each piece was selected for its specific strength, weight, and structural integrity. The physics they used are startlingly modern. They understood weight distribution and tension long before the first pyramids were even a dream in the sand. Every joint was a masterpiece of necessity. When nature gave them nothing but ice and death, they turned the skeletons of giants into life-saving fortresses. They were the first to master the Earth's own heat, digging deep into the permafrost to create a thermal barrier against the screaming Arctic winds. The scale was staggering. Imagine using the skulls of the largest land mammals as the literal foundation for your children's bedroom to keep them safe. This wasn't just survival, it was a community effort. It required leadership, vision, and a deep understanding of the materials harvested from the frozen wild. Let us step inside these ancient fortresses and witness the construction that allowed humanity to survive the most brutal era in our long history. Building these homes was a monumental feat of strength. A single house could require the remains of over 90 individual mammoths collected over many years. Without nails or cement, they used wet rawhide that would shrink as it dried, locking the massive bones together in a grip stronger than iron. The blueprint was sophisticated. Heavy skulls were used for the perimeter, long limb bones for the walls, and curved tusks for the interlocking roof canopy. While the frame was bone, the skin was fur. Layers of mammoth and reindeer hides were draped over the skeleton to create a windproof, waterproof seal. To provide extra insulation, they used a mixture of earth and moss, creating a primitive but highly effective form of insulation that trapped every degree. Outside, the temperature might drop to 50 below zero. Inside, the thermal mass of the bones and earth kept the living space surprisingly warm and stable. They utilized the natural curves of the tusks to create arches, a shape that naturally distributes weight and allows for wide, open interior living spaces. This was not a temporary tent. These houses were permanent landmarks, some occupied for generations, standing as a testament to their creators' enduring technical skill. As the sun dipped below the frozen horizon, these bone fortresses were the only spots of hope in a vast, dark, and indifferent, icy wilderness. Even in the face of death, they found time for beauty. Their homes weren't just for shelter, they were the first centers of human culture and art. Hour by hour, bone by bone, they defied the climate. This was the moment humanity stopped running from nature and started outsmarting it through pure engineering. The finished product was a fortress of heat, a sanctuary where the cold could not reach, and where the human spark could safely grow into fire. Against the backdrop of the Ice Age, these villages were the first cities. Tiny islands of warmth and intelligence in an ocean of ice and shadow. Let's go deeper into the physics of how they managed the most dangerous element of all, the fire that kept them alive through the nights. Inside, the fire was the heart. But in a sealed dome, fire is a double-edged sword that can suffocate the very people it is meant to save. They engineered ventilation. By placing a small, precise opening at the apex, they used the principle of convection to draw smoke out while keeping heat in. The entrance was a masterpiece of thermal design. By building the door lower than the living floor, they created a natural trap for heavy, cold air. In a treeless landscape, they discovered that fat-rich mammoth bones were an incredible fuel source, burning long and hot when wood was nowhere to be found. They were chemists of survival, understanding which materials provided the most energy and how to sustain a flame through a month-long blizzard. The air inside was still. The thick mammoth bone walls acted as a massive heat sink, radiating warmth back into the room long after the fire dimmed. They understood that heat rises. By sleeping on elevated platforms, they stayed in the warmest layer of the room, far above the freezing ground below. This controlled environment allowed for something revolutionary: leisure time. The ability to think, plan, and create, even when the world outside was dying. Their R-value was surprisingly high. These ancient engineers had unknowingly developed a multi-layered insulation system that rivals some modern building standards in its efficiency. Within these ivory walls, humanity thrived. The heat provided the stability needed for language to evolve and for complex social bonds to be forged in fire. Every spark was a victory. Every degree of temperature was a barrier between the future of our species and the cold void of extinction. This is the true physics of survival. The intelligent application of energy and structure to bend a hostile world to the needs of the living. They did not just survive the Ice Age, they conquered it. These villages were monuments to a collective will that refused to be silenced by the frost. Their courage was silent but absolute. Because they built these homes, their children lived to see the spring, and their children's children built the future. The line of engineering is unbroken. From the first mammoth skull foundation to the modern skyscraper, the human spirit remains the same, restless and unstoppable. They took the materials of their world, even the most daunting ones, and transformed them from symbols of fear into the literal walls of their homes. If they had chosen to hide in the dark, if they had chosen to simply wait for the end, you would not be here today to listen. Their legacy is more than just archaeology. It is the very pulse of our civilization. It is the refusal to accept that our environment defines our limits. They stood against the crushing power of the ice and said no. They created a world of warmth where only the silence of death was supposed to exist. We are still their students. Every time we design a better insulator or a more efficient heater, we are following the path they blazed in the snow. Our cities are just larger versions of those first bone villages. Tiny pockets of life, light, and warmth, defying the vast cold of the universe. The comfort you feel right now is the culmination of 30,000 years of innovation, starting with a pile of bones and a dream of survival. Celebrate the engineers of the Ice Age. They were the first to turn the tide, ensuring that the human fire would never, ever be extinguished. Next time you feel that wave of heat from your vents, take a moment to remember where it truly comes from. It isn't just technology. It is a gift from the past, a legacy of bone, sweat, and brilliant minds that saw the end of the world and decided to build over it. You are touching history. You are benefiting from a survival instinct so powerful it redefined what it means to be human in a cold universe. We did not invent the warmth we feel today. We inherited it from the greatest engineers to ever live, who refused to let the fire die. Cherish the heat. Honor the bones. And never forget that our greatest weapon against the dark has always been our ability to build our way out.